Hello and welcome back to the Waiting Native Chronicles. I'd like to share with you an interview that I did recently with the Bridge City News. That's a television station out of southern Alberta, and they kindly invited me to speak to them on a variety of subjects that covered hunting and trapping, indigenous issues, and we also, near the end, we covered the important subject of the changing gun laws in Canada and how that affects people, what is wrong with them, and the effect it has also on our relations with the Indigenous people. So I think there's some points brought up in here that are worth being stressed and that people should be aware of and think carefully about as far as how these changes in law affect all Canadians. So let's take a look at this.
Now, one of the videos that was posted on your YouTube channel in July, it had over like 200,000 views. You talk about the Trudeau Liberals' push to ban not only handguns, but also rifles that are primarily used for hunting. Now, as a person who regularly uses firearms, what concerns you the most about the current and future bans of these tools?
Whoa, that's a big one. Yeah. I mean, that is something that's such a frustration for Canadian gun owners and people who spend time in the outdoors because we feel like there's just a total disconnect between the urban centers like Toronto and Montreal and the West. It's really feeding into the whole um, Western alienation thing where uh, people don't appreciate that for us uh, rifles and even handguns have a use. Like as a trapper, I have an authorization to use a handgun because you can't lug a rifle around. So there's a real use for handguns, both for dispatching animals and also for personal protection. Because you're carrying stuff around in the bush and you're working with your hands. You can't have a rifle close by. So uh, for for all of our rights to be basically stomped on for the sake of some idiotic gangbangers on the Toronto streets and stuff like that. It's uh, it's really it's really frustrating because on the one hand we're always saying, well, we don't demonize a whole class of people, like let's say call all Muslims terrorists because there's a few bad actors among them, and that's right, we shouldn't do that. But then if there's a few idiots that are using guns illegally, which no law is going to prevent them from doing anyways, then you're going to paint with a broad brush all gun owners in Canada as being dangerous, and we have to be protected from. The government is really just relying on fear tactics and picking out somebody to be a boogeyman, as I've mentioned in my videos before. So they have such a bad situation politically as they look ahead to what's going to happen in the next election. They have to uh, pick somebody to rally everybody against, and it's really a sad state of affairs. The rifles that they're thinking of banning, or that they have banned already, uh, and are going to ban, are going to include a lot of these rifles that the First Nations people use too. And I think we have to always keep in mind the fact that these treaties that we signed with First Nations included the guarantee to continue hunting and practicing their traditional ways, which is very important because they actually are stakeholders in in uh, in seeing what happens for destruction of the environment, but also they have a right to have uh, firearms in order to hunt. Some people say, "Oh, well, they can go back to bows and arrows," but they don't know their history. Treaties were signed at times when First Nations, at least around here, they all had rifles and stuff already. So there's a whole there's a lot of frustration here among the people I know that we've invested a lot of money in our handguns and our rifles and shotguns, and that the government can come along and take away property that has been lawfully obtained sets a precedent that is really scary. The Trudeau has already shown his willingness to step into our bank accounts. That should be a red flag for all of us, that he can just freeze our bank accounts, do all kinds of things if they don't agree with us politically. So now we have the guns coming along. They're going to take those away. Once the government should be around to protect people's personal property, not to take it away. And if they can do this, even those people out there that don't have guns, they should be worried.
Well, Donald, thank you so much for your perspective, as well as an Indigenous perspective on fur trapping, as well as also gun control. But unfortunately that's all the time we have for today, and I only got through a few of the questions. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, and thank you as well. I really appreciated talking to you.
That was Donald Langkamp, and you can watch more from him and his wife Nakia out on their trap line on their YouTube channel, The Way to Native Chronicles. I'm Naveen Day, and on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks for watching.
Well, that about wraps up this video. I hope you got something out of it. It was a real pleasure working with the news crew at Bridge City News, and I'm not saying that just lightly. I really appreciate the fact that they took the time to do some research on this subject. They treated me very fairly, and they must have spent a lot of time going through this channel, digging up some of these clips that they inserted in there. So it's really quite nice to see. I was very impressed, and they did ask me if I want to come back again. So we'll see what happens in the future here. But in the meantime, I hope you liked the video. If you did, then don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel too if you haven't done so already. It really helps us out. So for the Way to Native Chronicles, I'd like to wish you God bless and catch you next time.
이때 또 때내라 끼히 캐호즈데 이끼히 나츠 때 교자